Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm Part 34, Isolation and Variation. First off, I'm obviously rocking the grout fit again. You peasants can't pull that shit off, but obviously I can. The grout doesn't even match, I'll still rock that shit. Picking up from where we left off yesterday, what is the physical motivation for the order of operation of mathematical operators? So we'll start with some math, and then we'll talk about the physical reasons of why I want to change some things. Alright, so we've talked in a physical context, we've proven what the basis is of physics. So we should be able to start drawing some relations to mathematics. Right, given two sets, x and y, of a finite elements, finite number. What defines a function, right? If f of x again equals 69x squared, we can drop the 69 because it's a constant. But right, if I put in f of x, if I put -2 and 2 into x squared, I'm going to get the same result, right? So you could have different x's mapping to the same y, and it's still a function. Now, when I learned this, they said if the same y maps to two different x's, it's not a function. But it's not a function of x. That's dependent versus independent variable. It's not to draw the complete and say this because this two range numbers maps to a basis number. This is not a function. I don't like that logically. I just want to make that nuance. I can say much more there because it's literally a logical note. But it's why certain types of functions exist and certain types of functions don't, and how the mathematical operators relate. But, so, like I said, I don't know the dependent basis. Is there a difference between unknowns versus variable? F of x equals 69x squared. The set of elements is the basis of vibration, which is a finite set, right? The 5 sets with a one mathematical operator. We can start talking about different number fields. But I wanted to ask the question, are unknowns different than variables, right? What is a variable? Well, spelling a word constructs a variable. But what I mean is, right, f of x, y, and x are both unknown, but are they variables? X can change, but y only changes as a function of x. So I wouldn't logically, nuance, subtly, I would not call y, f of x, a variable. Or I would even say that's why you go from y to f of x. But again, just talking about functions. But now, let's say you're giving two equations, y equals 3x plus 1, and y equals 420x plus 69. What you're going to do, right, now this is an extremely simple 4th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade example, but you're going to take this equation, right, y equals, and then solve for x. So what you've done is you've eliminated the dependent variable based on mathematical context, that is basis and range. So part 34 of this lecture series, part 24-5 of my language lecture series, 4 or 5 years of active mathematical derivation. What am I doing? I'm doing systems of equations with words. Nothing more, nothing less. So Bill Kosiski, just because you didn't pay attention in 7th grade algebra class, doesn't make me crazy. But that's all I'm doing, just with a lot more variables, and a lot more systems, and a lot more data. But nothing more, nothing less. So that's the mathematics, that's the formal mathematics. But how does vibration become resonance? Think about singing. Try to sing at first, you really can't. Vibrate your vocal cords, vibration as the basis, resonance is the range. So how do you learn? Again, trying to get a physical context for mathematical operations. How do you learn? Well, you struggle with an idea. You struggle with a concept. You play around with it for a while. And then once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. And seeing as we're products of the universe would learn the exact same way. How does the universe learn? Inflation, didn't understand its geometry, figured out its boundaries, decreased its temperature, differentiated. But the point is inflation is the direct reason of exponentiation. Any number x to the rank n. But then it's stabilized, right? Puberty. You grow up you get a lot taller, a lot bigger real fast, and then you stagnate for the rest of your life. So, like I said, the universe learns the same way. So we can say basis to relationship to range, that's what produces a function. And derivatives are subsets of a function, right? I keep saying I'm deriving things. These are stuff I've already proven. I'm literally building the proof out more. So derivation versus proofing, once you proved a bunch of stuff as big as I have, you can't reprove it. You can only bolster the arguments. So, and then I have range is a function of basis, and I'll put quotations on here, because I even think this is a little, I can do better here. Range is emergent from basis. But the relationship of a basis to a range is what a function is. And so we ended the last episode, or we talked about in the last episode, the fundamental theorem of calculus. I just Googled it again, and they keep talking about antiderivatives. Basis, relationship, range. The function comes first, the derivative comes second, the integration comes third. So therefore, the fundamental theorem of calculus is, given a variable x, integrating the derivative x with respect to x gives you the function. Antiderivative is 100% the wrong logical use of the empirical value function. Facts. That's where I wanted to pick up from last episode. This is definitely true. Still some nuance. I'm not clear logically about the mathematical operators, exactly how they relate, but this is the physical basis for the fundamental theorem of calculus. And now we'll talk again about syllability, sentence structure, in singing and auditions. So now what I want to start doing is talking about, we've talked about syllability at the word level, but how does it apply to sentence structure? And again, our pieces, again, it's building out the proof, but right, E, we've talked a lot about prefixes, suffixes, the sound E, the strict number of words, or syllables per word. So let's start off with a numeric definition of what syllability is. Syllability is the units of momentum represented with natural numbers. And then I have an asterisk, because we talked about, again, super rudimentary, but there should be some finite set of continuous functions versus discrete functions, or we should be able to draw some truly fundamental mathematical difference between discrete and continuous. Right, just geometry. My hand, there's clearly segments, I have knuckles, so I'd call that discrete, but I'm a continuous system. So something in math there. But what I mean is, right, it is what it is the reduction of all logical association. So anytime you have a sentence with the verb is, how many variables, or how many syllables on the left side versus the right side? And now, from infinite biological uniqueness, and even talking about, right, x, y being a function of x, y not being a function of x, still not necessarily counting it as not a function, it's just not a function with respect to x. Those are results of the one-way progression of the universe, for sure, and of biological uniqueness. But for a sentence, we should be able to say, all right, he is happy. I don't know. I am not happy. But he, whoever he is out there, he is happy. Right? One syllable to two is happy. 2 syllables. So we should be able to make any statement like, you know, less syllables on the left-hand side of the equation sign, or the right-hand side if you're using a different language, just doesn't really matter. It's very clear. But some relationship of syllables on a given side of a verb, specifically to the verb is, right? 2 syllables would be more general, so this would be a statement of expansion. You know, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but if you had a sentence with more syllables on one side than is, that would be a statement of contraction or reduction. So this is literally all I'm doing. Systems of equations, relations with is and different verbs, and I just have a fuck ton of data points. We should be able to start making, again, some sweeping generalizations about syllability for sentence structure. And now just a couple notes on singing, breathing, auditions, and PhDs, because I've made the reference that singing is a physical problem, because it is. I want you to breathe, right? A lot of those people out there, they have a medical condition because they can't wear a mask. No, you're a stupid fucking animal and you can't breathe, so you say you have a medical condition. But take a deep breath. What expanded? Was it your chest or was it your abdomen? If it wasn't your abdomen and your chest, or if it wasn't your abdomen and it was your chest, you're breathing incorrectly. Anytime you take a deep breath, you should be bracing through your abdomen. That's the correct way to contract your diaphragm. But my point for singing, I mean, this might be a weird tangent, but again, this is physics. Singing is physics. And just watching auditions, I've been watching The Voice, which I've applied to. Again, I sent them 85 copyrighted songs, so obviously I can't get an audition. They're not good enough. Luke Bryan and them, they need or Blake Shelton, they need a more complete voice. I wonder where completeness has been heard before recently. Again, I don't know. But my point is there's a point of minimum competence for singing. And at this point, again, we've solved, again, in the past 2 months, how many empirical proofs have I presented? There's a minimal level of competence for singing. And I've been at that level since 4 years ago. And so, like, when I'm dealing with these Bill Kosiskis and these people who think I'm crazy, like I said, you can go watch one of my music things and see how competent I am. But, like, I'm going and watching these singing shows, 14, 15, up to, 40-year-olds, and you can tell that you're more resonant than them, right? If you can viscerally, you can sing over somebody else in terms of, like, making more resonance than them. So I do want this on record. There has not been a person that has been alive on this planet as a demonstrable fact that has developed their skill sets farther than me with no external reward. Never really made friends, definitely never went to school, was absolutely a fucking scapegoat. And now I can watch singing shows, I can watch CNBC, I can watch anybody talk, and they're literally using my metaphors, they are literally using my analogies, they are literally thinking about me, indirectly. And so, I do want to point that out for singing. It's 100% a physical problem. But the other thing I wanted to say was novelty, right? Why are there one-hit wonders? What makes someone last longer? Well, it's the first time you hear their voice, right? Minimum competence. You have a one-hit wonder song. Anyone at that minimum level can sing and have a hit single or have a hit album even. But then they typically get famous. They get some money, they have a job, and then they expand really fast, they're working really hard, and then they consolidate, then they take it back and they relax. And so when I'm saying I'm being tortured, like 4 years ago I solved all of science and said, okay, let's forget all this and let's start singing. And then I developed that, and then now I can't go to an audition. I have literally a fucking portfolio of music. And it's the same with PhDs, right? If I went up to somebody and said, hey man, I have 700 PhDs worth of derivation, they wouldn't know what the fuck that is meaning. That's probably an understatement. I mean, like, measuring my work in PhDs, and why am I talking about singing and PhDs at the same time? I'm just forgetting fundamentals and just talking about, again, being profoundly competent. People truly push out the actual outliers because it offends them. Or the government has told them you can't interact with this fucking guy because we'd rather blow up our own buildings than change. But singing is a physical problem. If you don't breathe through your diaphragm, you're doing it wrong. And the amount of PhDs I've earned at this point is a fucking carnival joke. But those are the ideas I wanted to cover here. Isolation and variation. Thanks for watching part 34.